Hello and welcome to Extraordinary Women TV with Shannon Skinner. My first guest this morning is Kathleen Mailer, who is the founder and editor-in-chief of today's Businesswomen magazine. She's got quite an interesting story to tell, so I'm really excited to have her here on the show today. Later in the segment, before we take a break, I'll have my regular Good to Know Minute when I ask my guests for their top tip on living a successful life. You'll hear Kathleen's. In the second half of the show, we're going to be talking about finding your joy. So stay right there. Hello, Kathleen.
Hi.
Nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Now, you are, of course, you are the editor-in-chief and founder of today's Businesswomen magazine, but that's not all. You are also Canada's leading authority on self-publishing, and you're also the author of How to Write and Publish Your Own Book.
That's right, I am.
In under 90 days.
In under 90 days, that's right. Yeah.
Well, it's a real pleasure. You're from Alberta, so brings you to Toronto.
Well, I'm actually doing a couple of workshops here, and I may have a brother who lives in Oshawa, so it's great to connect with family as well.
Fantastic. Now, one thing that really, when I was looking at your website, something that really jumped out at me, we've had a few conversations and been able to get to know each other, and there's something that really stood out about you, and that was this. It says, Kathleen is leading a movement of entrepreneurs who have purpose, or also you refer to it as ministry.
That's right.
So can you explain?
Sure. I believe that God gives us a business so we can go out there and do God's business.
Right.
So I'm really looking at developing and helping move people who are in business to get out and give more service to the world. Because I think if we link arms, we can do so much more. I'm the voice that eradicates poverty in the nations, one businesswoman at a time, and I do that by serving them, helping them, get them to grow, and then teach them how to pay it forward, so to speak.
So, I mean, this is really inspiring, and I mean, how do you do it one at a time, and then how could you turn that into a bigger impact?
Well, I do it through the workshops, and we have some different coaching programs in home study kits to just get people to move. And I think the biggest thing is the encouraging and the equipping and the educating. We do that through the magazine, which makes it more of a movement. It's not just a magazine. And what's happening is we're finding that there's a new flavor. There's a new season that's coming of entrepreneurs right now who are tired of the same old, same old. So it's not just about making money. Money comes when you do what you love. Money comes when you do what's right. Money comes when you serve. So money is sort of like a scorecard or a byproduct of what happens when you do things right.
So would you say it's fair to say that money is nothing more than an energy system?
It's a vehicle, that's right. It's something that happens as you move. I mean, you need to have money so that you can have more options. As John Maxwell says, you need money for options and you need money to give. And that's really what it's about. It's about taking that, making more than enough for you to take care of your family, and taking the overflow and taking it like we did to India or to Mexico to really make an impact and make people's lives change.
So what do you say then to people who maybe don't have enough to get going, and they're in a state where they're thinking, oh my God, my bank account is draining, and they're feeling like they're in poverty, and yet they still also want to give? Right,
and I'm going to say this lovingly and respectfully, that we all have everything we need right at our fingertips. And that's what I really love about book writing, is it becomes a place, a vehicle where you can create income. Your testimony, your story really makes a difference. So you got to think about in terms of how can my life make a difference in someone else's life? And if you package it properly, it doesn't have to cost a whole lot. That's a myth that's out there, but it doesn't have to cost a lot to produce these things, but you can change lives. And in response to that, income can rise. We've got everything at our fingertips, absolutely every person, to change that.
So you and you made a big change in your life. You started this magazine, this wonderful magazine, Today's Businesswomen.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, and it's been around how long now?
It's now, this fall has just marked our first anniversary.
Yeah, congratulations.
And it's international. We just got, it was yesterday, I think it was, that we just got another subscription for the United Kingdom. So we were really excited about it. It's just everywhere. It's just going.
I'm going to show it on the screen here. So now, you might be interested to know that this is not a woman on today's Businesswomen on the cover. This is a gentleman.
Yes, we're being scandalous, and he's telling us how to be a man. But the whole purpose of that is that it encompasses the whole woman.
Yes.
That we are part of our business. You know, gone are the days where I grew up in business where you had to separate yourself. You had to separate your family. You had to separate your church life. You had to and you know, all that separation isn't any good. We are who we are. We're built to have a business. That's part of who we are. So we need to encompass our church, our family, our husbands, our relationships, everything into one, because that is who we are. Gone are the days of separation. Balance is about being the whole woman, not separate balancing acts.
Which is really a state of harmony.
It is. It
You
absolutely
know?
is.
Looking at all areas of your life, and if you can balance that, it's a pretty powerful place to be. If you can make sure everything is in harmony.
Exactly. It's a state of wholeness. It's a state of being in one place, not separation.
Right.
We don't need to burn our bras anymore. We can just stay where we are.
Yeah. Now, today's Businesswomen magazine has it's faith-based. Mm-hmm. There's a strong Christian component.
Yes,
so you did manage to bring in that into your business.
That's right. So, I really believe that in scriptures it actually spoke to me about when Jesus started his ministry. He actually had women who were in business fund it. It says right in there that Joanna, who was King Herod's business manager, I didn't even know that they had a business manager that were women back then, but she was his business manager, and it says that they paid for his ministry out of their own resources. And today's businesswoman, that's really what we're doing. Whether you believe in God or not, or a higher power, it doesn't matter. What it's really about is, what is Jesus' ministry? That is to go out and impact the nations. It's to teach them the good news that they don't have to be in this poverty-stricken place. They can be in wholeness. And so that's what we're going to do as today's businesswomen, right? We're going to make an impact. We're going to change lives.
So how did this idea come to you to start this magazine? I mean, you know, in a world where, you know, publishing is having its difficulty in the digital world, and you know, and so what sparked you to start it? It
was one of the most amazing moments. We had at that time 6 significant deaths in 8 months. So my husband's uncle passed away, his mother passed away. Most of it was cancer. There was some tragedies, and in that time, we've been doing all the caregiving. We couldn't actually go and do work and do other things, but through the business, the book business, and the things that God had given me before, we were able to fund it. He looked after us in that place. And it was in a moment where I was actually thanking God that He looked after us and we didn't fall apart financially. I just felt like, I said, what could I do to let everybody else know, because we know so many people who are having financial issues around health issues. I want to make sure I make a difference. And then the whole idea of the Businesswoman magazine came to me and was downloaded, and within 6 months we had our first issue, and it's international. It goes around the world. I mean, that's favor. I really do realize that we're very blessed. It doesn't happen that way for most people, but that's how it all happened, in a moment of gratitude in amongst all of the stuff.
I've heard it said over and over again that gratitude is the key to manifestation.
Absolutely.
Gratitude is the key to joy. Gratitude is
exactly
being in a state of gratitude is really vital, very important to.
It's successful living.
Successful living,
yes.
That's right, yeah. So then what do you hope to achieve with the magazine? I mean, what's your long-term vision?
Our long-term vision is to educate, encourage, and equip, and to give women a voice. We don't have a per se advertising. We are really different kind of magazine at all. We don't have advertising. What we have is memberships, and you can get a place in that membership in our magazine.
Okay.
We don't talk about advertising because I feel like advertising is to grab a bunch of mud, throw it up against the wall, and hope something sticks. Right? But when you use it as marketing, it's a whole different thing.
Right.
So sometimes we will interview people, and sometimes they'll get a position in there because they bought a membership. And what we teach them to do is to take this magazine as it is, write a little note on it and say, there's an article written about me on page 61, and I thought you might be interested. How may I be of service to you? So if you're a speaker, you want to be in this magazine and send that out to event coordinators.
Sure.
As an event coordinator, who wouldn't look at it?
Right.
I mean, we've been told time and time again the quality of our magazine is outstanding. And when you get a magazine and someone writes that, and you're not pushing your sales, you're not getting, you know, in their face, but you're doing it ever so gently and going in service, which is what we were just talking about.
Right. So how would you then define success?
Success is to have a whole life where you're giving out of your abundance and your service to the world and making an impact so that we can march together towards unity.
Right. Now, we're going to take a quick break, and before we do, that's when I ask my Good to Know Minute, which is your top tip on living a successful life. We just talked about what success is, but what advice would you give the viewers to live a successful life?
My top tip?
Yeah.
Okay. What I do is I actually start my day in prayer, and I mentally review what my day is going to look like, so I can use it in my imagination. Then as I go throughout the day, it just unfolds as it should.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, more with Kathleen Mailer, founder, editor-in-chief of today's Businesswomen magazine. So stay right there. Welcome back to Extraordinary Women TV. I'm Shannon Skinner, and I'm speaking with Kathleen Mailer, who is the founder and editor-in-chief of today's Businesswoman magazine. She's actually also Canada's leading authority on self-publishing. Self-publishing, one of my very favorite topics, of course. So how did you get your start in writing books? And we've talked about your magazine, but you write books and you coach people on how to write books.
That's right. I've actually been at it for quite a few years. I wrote my very first book in 1997.
Okay.
And it took me so long to write it that because I was dealing with what a lot of people deal with, and that's what I lovingly refer to as my inner terrorist. That piece of you that keeps you stuck.
Yes.
You know, who do you think you are? Do you know how many business books there are out there? You know that guy.
Yeah.
Do you know how much money this is going to cost? Blah, blah, blah. So it took me a lot longer to write my first book than it should have. At the end of 1998, I found out my dad had cancer, and I really desperately wanted him to see my book. He passed away on Easter of 1999, and I lost my mom on December the 31st of the same year. But I was just a week too late to get it to my dad. And it was at that point I really realized that life's too short to sit on your story. If you want to accomplish something, you need to do it now. There was so much I learned in that year, but one of the most amazing things was this. I was back and forth to Saskatchewan, which is where I grew up, and I wasn't hardly at home working at all. But I made more money that year than I made in my whole entire life. Now, that'll tell you two things. Either I didn't make any money, which is true, or that I made a whole lot of money, and I did. So both are true. And that was really what started the whole movement of helping people write their stories, helping get them out there in record-breaking time. It cost me $50,000 for my first book. It does not have to cost you that much money. Who knew? I mean, but it was my education. I put it in. I went to the School of Hard Knocks. My school colors are black and blue. So, and that's kind of how it all started. Is in a time of crisis, in a time where really people find that their worlds are falling apart. I found myself grateful, and then everything sort of expanded, and it launched $1 million business. One book.
So now, so then you have workshops and seminars to help authors get their book out in less than 90 days anyway, right?
Yes.
30 days?
Yeah, it can actually be very quick.
Right.
The last workshop that I had done in Calgary, well, the second last, is we had, I teach people the SEED formula, that's S-E-E-D. And in that formula, it's a very quick way of getting your book out there, defining what it looks like. So when people don't even know where to get started, and that's what happens for most people, they have so much inside of them that they want to emotionally barf it all into one book. This really helps, you know, spread apart what it is that they're supposed to be doing with it. And she wrote, one of our authors, her name is Christine, she actually wrote it, the complete outline in class. During her lunch break, she was 3/4 done. 2 days later, she was finished. So it doesn't have to take a long time to write a really good book. Now, obviously, some are going to take a little longer if you have a lot of research, but most of the books are already coming from your experience. I just reach in, help you identify what that message is, and pull it out in a way that it's easy formula writing. That way, if you only have 10 minutes a day, you can fit it in. If you have 2 days straight, you can get it done. That kind of thing. It's really simple, easy formula to write.
And so then what happens, so the author writes the book, and then do you help guide them as to what happens after?
I do. In the workshop that I do, I actually teach them how to write, how to market. Now, I mean, there is so many things you can do for marketing, but I teach 3 in class, and one of the most one I find that is the easiest one to do and makes the most amount of money right away is called the Magic Multiplier Clients, where I actually had the last workshop I did, the lady left the workshop and 2 days later she had $20,000 in her bank account. She went and did this process of finding a Magic Multiplier Client. It happens all the time, and it's easy to do even before you have the book written, which is the time for marketing. Most people think, I'll get my book done and then I'll market. No, 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 no. You've got to know. If you've already done a book, that's okay. I can help you too. But it's much, much more fun if you can do it right at the start. And the third part of the workshop is the publishing part, the self-publishing. And I help you go through every step, everything you need to know from A to Z, how much it's going to cost you, because that's what kept coming up for me. And then we also have a package that you can leave and do it all by yourself, but we also have a package where my coaches come into play and help you actually go through the process. First thing you need to do is this. Second thing you need to do. And it doesn't have to cost as much money as people think it does. It doesn't have to take as long as what people think it does. And you can make a lot of money, and most people think you can't. There's a statistic out there that says the average author makes about $500 in the lifetime of a book. And that's sad. And that makes me really, really sad, because, you know, God wants you to have this book out there. He wants you to make sure that you make an impact on other people's lives. So why would you want to sit on it? Why would you not want to reap the funds so that you can take it and go? Every one of us have big dreams. We need to fund it. A book is an excellent way of funding those dreams.
Well, you know, and today with print on demand and digital and ebooks, and I mean, there's just so many different ways of getting the word out.
That's right.
You know, getting your word out down on paper or digitally. And I know that I had published my very first book, published it using print on demand. It was great. Wrote the book and managed to have a great team around me. Creative team to put the book cover together and whatnot, and then I just got my book out there. I mean, I wasn't going to wait for a traditional publisher. So just did it. Don't wait.
Well,
there are times when it is wise to go with a traditional publisher.
I agree.
It totally depends on your genre, I think, and
it depends on what your goals are.
And what your goals are.
Plain and simple. That's all it depends on. Mark Twain was self-published his first book.
Sure he did.
You know, and we all know who that is.
That's right.
I mean, Ben Franklin was self-published, and he made $10,000 a year way back then, self-published. So it is lucrative. You just have to know how. That's the key. It's just education barrier.
So you said that there's some myths. I mean, one myth is it doesn't have to take long, and the other myth is it doesn't have to cost a lot either.
Right. I have one of the biggest things that I think I get all the time, and I have a really quick, great story for that, is that I'm not smart enough, or I didn't get my English at all.
That inner critic.
Yes, and my favorite story is my friend Judy has a son who has Fragile X. And when I did my first book, I was going on TV and all these interviews, and Mike thought that was really great. Ooh, Kathy's a big star. So I took him to the green room with me, and I said to him at lunchtime, what did you think? And he said, that's it, I want to write a book. So I got out my pen and paper, and I said, okay, Mike, what would you like to write? And he says, Pussy, Pussy. Seriously, his cat was named Pussy. So we put down Pussy, Pussy. I wrote everything he said. We had a children's book done. Within 2 weeks, he was doing book signings. He sold 200 books at his first book signing. He was on TV, and the interviewer said, so Mike, what made you think you could write a book? And Mike said, I didn't know I couldn't.
Well, isn't that an interesting story?
I didn't know I couldn't. So to everyone out there who wants to write a book, you can do this. You really, really can.
And the expert here, you've got the expert. So Kathleen, then I know that you've got a workshop coming up.
Yes.
Do you want to just give us some details about that?
I actually have two. I have one on September the 24th. And if you liked what I was talking about for today's Businesswoman magazine, it's called Prepare to Prosper. taking your business to a higher level.
Right.
That is on the 24th. We are having a one-day event where my team is actually coming in, and we're just going to love on people. And anyone that actually calls through and says they saw this, I'm going to give away a free ticket while I have enough to go.
And where is it taking place?
It's going to be at the Delta Hotel
here in Toronto.
Here in Toronto.
Okay, good.
And the other one will be in November, and it's how to write, publish, and market your own book. If they want more information, please do go to our website at www.kathleenmailer.com, or you can email me at getbooked@shaw.ca. That's GETBOOKED
Well, Kathleen, you know, it's been really lovely having you here, and I hope you enjoy your time in Toronto. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insight with my viewers.
Thank you very much.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, you are going to meet Barbara Schreiner-Trudel, who is the CEO of Joy Here and Now, and this is a very inspiring woman, so stay right there.